Hey, Jace-tunnell here. Today I got something real cool to talk to y'all about. And that's a tube worm. And there's a couple different species of tube worms you probably see, especially if you're in areas when it's low tide and or after a storm event and you find a bunch of debris washing around. You probably find, these are real common, these are plume worms, casings anyway, and they have shells on the outside, so it looks like a straw with shells glued to it. So you've probably seen those before. This other one is harder to see or to recognize anyway. You might actually think it's a stick or something like that. It's called a parchment tube worm. And the reason it's called a parchment tube worm is because it creates this tube. The worm is a polychaete, which is just a crazy looking worm that has hairs on it and crazy mouth parts and stuff like that. But its mucus and mixture of sand can actually make this tube that's like paper. And so, you know, parchment paper. And so that's how it gets its name. And here in a second, I just thought about this. This one feels dried. I don't think the worm's still in here. Like if it is, it's dead, but I'm gonna cut it open to see what's in there. But these parchment tube worms, it lives like this. And say this is the sediment. It would have both ends that come up into the water. So it's in the water, in the mud. The two ends are very narrow and they come up. And the worm itself has these different segments, and some of the segments have what look like paddles. So they can actually pull water from one end and go all the way around and spit it out the other end. And when they do that, they have like this net to be able to collect plankton. So that's what they feed on, is plankton. So they have the water coming in, collecting the plankton to feed. Now, these worms live their entire adult life in this tube. Can you imagine? As they get older, they can actually cut slits in here and add some more parchment paper, and that's how the tube is able to grow. This would be full-size adult right here. They live in this, they live for about a year. So I don't know if you like confined spaces or not. I don't think I could do that. Now, let's see. There is something, you might have heard of bioluminescence before, and these are organisms that if they're disturbed, they can create this like light. And so you might have been at the beach before, and at nighttime you see the waves look like they're green or bluish. Those are actually organisms in there that have bioluminescence, so lights. These worms have that as well. So a worm in here might only be, you know, take up that much of the tube. Now if it gets scared, or you know, it says, oh, something's trying to get me, it'll come up to like one side of it, and its mucus will have the bioluminescence, the glowing stuff in it, and then that will make it glow over here to try to deter whatever is trying to get them. One other thing that is very cool about this is that it actually lives with little crabs, tube pea crabs. The only place they're found in the world is inside of this tube with the worm. And so say the worm's over here, you'd have the crabs over here, like moving around inside of there. That's just pretty amazing to me. So they have like this relationship there where they don't hurt each other, but they live and thrive with each other. So let me get my knife here. Y'all know I like to cut things open, right? And I actually have two of these here. This is an older one that I found washed up. Now it could just be sand inside of here. I don't know. Oh yeah, it's just cutting like paper, just like you would think. Let's see what comes out of here. Looks like a lot of sand. You know those straws that have sugar in them? That's kind of what it reminds me of. Nope, just no dried up worm in there. Looks like it just has the parchment paper tube. See how I'm cutting that open? Just like paper. Yeah. Okay, well, that's it for the parchment worm. Now you know, if you find these tubes, what they are. Okay, happy beachcombing. We'll talk to you later. Bye. Jace-Tunnell here. Today, for beachcombing, we're going to talk to you about a sand dollar. And the reason we're going to talk about it today is because I found a live sand dollar just right above the surf zone, and it was upside down. So that's what the bottom of it looks like. Now, most of y'all are probably used to finding these sand dollars when they look like this. So there's no hairs on it, it's just the exoskeleton, and which is called the test, T-E-S-T. That's normally what we find them for, and usually the bits and pieces. I do frequently find them whole, but you got to get up early in the morning because those are like a prized possession that people like to buy. They like to find like early in the morning. So you got to get out there soon. Now, live ones, we don't find that often, and whenever we find these, I'm just keeping it out of the water briefly because I want to get it back in the water. These are a sea urchin. They're a flat sea urchin. So normally when they're out in the ocean on the sandy bottom, they'll be either flat or they can actually stick up like this to where they can feed kind of above the sand. They can bury into the sand to kind of hide from predators. They can actually move across the sand and eat the sand to get microorganisms out of it, which is how it feeds. And you'll notice that it looks very different than, say, the ones you would typically find because of all the little hairs on it. So it does have these modified spines, and then it has a lot of tube feet, so little feet that come off of it, and that's how it's able to move across the sand. If a predator is after it, it can try to get weighted down, you know, or even if the surf is trying to push it in, it can eat the sand to try to keep it weighted down on the bottom so it doesn't get washed in. And so just a really cool animal. This is going to be a short episode today because I want to make sure I get this back in the water so that it has a chance to live. The tube feet I do see are moving around right now, so it is still alive. The mouth is actually on the bottom, right in the middle. That's how it's able to bring in sand and sift out the microorganisms to live. But man, how cool is that to find a live sand dollar? Very neat, kind of purplish in color. Okay, with that, I'm going to go ahead and put this back in the water, and we'll talk to you on the next beachcombing. Thanks, bye. Jace-Tunnell here. Today we are for beachcombing. We're actually looking at the beach. Look at all this stuff we have down here. But have you ever wondered what the actual value of this is? Like the value of you going out to the beach, whether you're finding seagrass like we're finding today, or you're finding some cool shells out here. We actually have at the Heart Research Institute a group that is looking at the value of what this is. Now we can figure out, okay, how many people are staying at hotels when they come to the beach? How many people are going to restaurants? They can come up with a calculation and they can say, okay, the value of the beach we have is yada yada. But what about for like beachcombers? What about us we're out here? What's the value of me being able to come out, look at the ocean, and get that feeling? What is the value of that? Well, so I invited some folks out here from the Heart Research Institute that have a whole program where they calculate that stuff up. So let me introduce you to them, and you let me know how you think about this and what your feelings are whenever you're at the beach.
The Community Resilience Group has a variety of projects and programs that assess values for a variety of topics. For example, we're working with the General Land Office for the Beach Watch program for water quality monitoring. We're also working with restoration, specifically oyster reefs. Secondly, we do studies related to livelihood transitions, and so how people gather benefits from the environment, not just for their well-being, but also for their livelihoods. In the Community Resilience Group, we focus on connecting human well-being to natural resources, and that is the topic of values. There are different ways to measure values. They could be monetary and non-monetary. And so monetary are the things like, how much would you pay to buy a beach pass so you can hang out here? So that is a value that we can measure and we can capture, and we know we can report on. But there are other values that are not captured through money. So for example, feeling happy, the feeling of calmness, those are hard to report as money, but we can report those to what we called qualitative measures. And the work that we do in the community resilience tries to capture both the monetary and non-monetary values that people have for natural resources, including beautiful beaches like these.
One of the projects we're really excited about right now is what we're loosely calling the Beach Watch project. So the General Land Office has a program called Texas Beach Watch, and they routinely come out to beaches like this one and monitor for bacteria. There's different ways that people are exposed to that kind of bacteria, depending on the activities that are taking place here on the beach. For example, we have surfing and fishing and wading, walking, dog walking, running, all sorts of activities. They want to know what's going on our Texas beaches, and when there's a lot of people on those beaches, what they're doing, why they're there. And that's because that will help inform them about their list that they then update depending on potential exposure to pollution. We're also interested in understanding how people value beaches, because that, as in general, helps decision makers determine how to move forward with programs like the Texas Beach Watch, and if there's other ways we can use that information to inform not only General Land Office but other state partners as well, in terms of how people value their space and their habitats here on the Texas coast. And one of our scientists on our team is Dr. Cora Lozada, and she's going to share a little bit about some of the work she's done with fisheries.
Like my coworkers have already said, we do a lot of the mixed methods social work, and that's where really I come in. So here I look at how people's perceptions of not just beaches but some of these other restored habitats. For example, a project that we are doing with the Nature Conservancy on oyster reefs, how their perceptions change, not just on how they use the beach or why they value the beach, but also on the restoration itself. And how these changes that we see over time, whether it be from a changing habitat, whether it be from changing policies that affect our beach use and restoration, really, I just take people's words and I turn them into data. So that's what perceptions are, right? That's what mixed methods is. That's the qualitative part of what I do. I turn people's words and their feelings about what is going on in their life and how, they're for generations being fishermen, and that's changing now. I turn that into data that we can then use and mirror with the hard quantitative data that we see and we gather from the other groups at HRI, right? So that's just a little bit of what we do.
Okay, wow, what awesome information. Me personally, as somebody who goes to the beach all the time, and we always have issues coming up about rights for getting on the beach. What is the value of that? Because maybe it's more valuable to put a condo up right on the beach and prevent other people from getting access. Maybe it's not even that controversial, but that is always a possibility. So knowing that there's a group out there at the Hart Research Institute looking at this stuff so that good management decisions can be made about us beachcombing and ensuring that we get to do that into the future as well as the next generation, so important to me. So I'm glad we were able to talk to them today. Hopefully you learned something new, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye. Hey, check it out here, Jace Tunnel. We got something special today. He's moving around too. Glaucus atlanticus. It's called the blue dragon, and something you never want to mess with. These things are known to just mess people up. And actually, I'm going to take them off of my finger right now so that we can watch them swim. I got this little thing here where we can watch them swim in here, and I'll get some close-up shots of them. But these things are pretty amazing. We usually find them washing up when we get a lot of Portuguese man-o'-wars washing in. That's what they feed on. So these are gastropods without a shell. They're a nudibranch, a sea slug, you know, all these different things you hear about. But it's pretty rare to find them because they're small. A lot of people don't see them. But they're made to be out in the ocean. That's where they live, is out in the open ocean. They feed on Portuguese man-o'-wars, and you know the Portuguese man-o'-wars, those are the ones that sting real bad. So these things actually eat the nematocyst of Portuguese man-o'-wars, and they can store them up in their appendages. So you'll see these little appendages that come off, look like fingers. They store these nematocysts in there, and if they get messed with, so if you picked one of these up and you accidentally squished it or something, it would release those nematocysts that are concentrated in there, and they would sting you really bad. I mean, it'd be 10 times as bad as a Portuguese man-o'-war, probably. So that's the idea. So don't mess with these if you see them out here, but man, what a cool animal to see out here. Some of the other things that we'll find washed up with these is the by-the-wind sailors. We also find the storm snails, the purple storm snails. And that's probably about it. You know, there's no human value to them, so like we can't eat them. They're found in, you know, tropical waters, you know, around the world. So that's probably it. Just super interesting animal, and thought I'd give you some close-up images of it because you probably don't normally see these, and if you do, just take pictures. Don't touch. Okay, with that, we'll talk to you later. Bye. Jace Tunnel here. Hey, we got some real cool stuff washing in today, and you might have seen these if you've been out at the beach lately, but there's literally millions and millions of these Velella for you scientists out there. Now normally people call them by-the-wind sailors, and so they're a hydrozoa. They've got what it sounds like, a little sail that's up at the top right here that's a clear little tab, and that's how they move around in the ocean, you know, by the currents and then by the wind. And then they're on like this platform of blue that floats, and then they have tentacles that's below it. And so, you know, you might be thinking, oh, tentacles, you're gonna get stung or something. Well, they actually do have stinging cells, but you know, they eat plankton. And so the stinging cells actually grab onto the plankton, and that's what they feed on. But you know, it's not strong enough to hurt us. Now, what I wouldn't do is I wouldn't take this off my finger and then rub my eyes or put it in my mouth or something like that, because you know, if you have sensitive skin, it could affect you there. But these are real neat if you see them floating around. Now, there's a couple of things you will find with these. Normally, there's Portuguese man-o'-wars that are also around these. There's also a purple storm snail, which feeds on these and Portuguese man-o'-war. And then if you're lucky enough, you'll actually find the blue dragon that also feeds on all those, especially the Portuguese man-o-war. But this is a neat one. They're found worldwide, so you'll see every once in a while a news story will come out saying that there's all these blue things washing up in mass quantities. Now, the reason we're having these wash up right now is because we started having southeast winds. These are supposed to be out in the open ocean, so they're not made to be up on land. And whenever we get the right conditions and they're blooming in the springtime, these will wash up on our beach here. And so that's why we're seeing them right now. Now, most of them we're seeing are very, very tiny. And like I'll pick one up right here. Most of them are about that size. Now, they can get, a couple inches. This one's probably an inch or so. So they're all still pretty small, but they can get pretty good size. And they grow fairly quickly. So, maybe in the next couple of weeks we'll start seeing some larger ones come up. But I figured y'all might be interested in seeing these and wondering what they are, why there's so many washing up. By the Wind Sailor. So now you know. We'll talk to you later. Bye. Jace Tunnell here. Oh man, I'm excited to talk to y'all about something today, and I hope y'all are excited too. And it's a jelly. Well, it's not a true jellyfish. It's a siphonophore, which is similar to what you would find with the Portuguese man-o-war. But this one looks like an eyeball. It's floating. It's got this gas-filled bulb at the top, so it can regulate how it floats up. And then it's got tentacles that come down to the bottom. And it can sting just like a Portuguese man-o-war. And if anybody's ever been stung by a Portuguese man-o-war, you know how bad that stings. This thing is found obviously in the Gulf of Mexico about every spring. Somebody messages us and says, hey, we found an eyeball on the beach. What is it? And it's not an eyeball, although it really looks like it. This gas float has a dark spot at the top of it, and when you look at it right away, you think, oh man, that's an eyeball. It must have fallen out of a fish or something. And then it's got the tentacles that are real long, which looks like it could be, coming out of the brain or something. I mean, it's just a real interesting looking animal. Now you might be thinking, what eats this? Well, think about what eats other jellyfish. I'm thinking sea turtles is a big one. There might be some fish and stuff that eat it too. Now, whenever it gets washed up here, I'm sure the birds have a heyday with it. So those are just some things to think about what might be eating it. Now, people ask me, how do I know that these eyeball jellyfish will actually sting? And I'm here to show you right here. If you want to feel what it feels like to be stung by one of these, I would suggest not doing it, but I kind of have built up somewhat of a tolerance of pain for man-o-war and stuff. But this one right here, this has really long tentacles. There's a lot of them washing in today, and there is pain, trust me. It's not quite as intense as a man-o-war jellyfish would be, but you can definitely feel it. Now, I'm just amazed at these little critters, but that's about how big they are. These tentacles, if I put these in water, they would actually be probably a foot or two in length, but since it's been rolling around in the surf right now, they're kind of crunched up. I'm starting to feel the pain here now. Okay, well, I just wanted to let y'all know that they do sting, in case you hear of people saying do they sting or not. Now you know. They feed on plankton. If you get stung by it, what should you do? Well, probably same thing you ought to do with the Portuguese man-o-war. It has those nematocysts that's shooting out venom in you. And there's really only two things that will help relieve some of the pain, and that would be vinegar or warm water. So you could try both of those things. But not a lot is known about these. Not a lot of research has been done on them. I think the coolest thing is their names. So spaghetti monster is what some people call it. A thread jellyfish is the other one. So if you want to Google and try to find out some more information, those are two of the names. Now, Rhizophysa is the genus name. So type that into Google. I'll put it up here so you can see, how it's spelled. But that is really the way that you can be able to find information on it. Now the tentacles, how I have it right here, it looks like they're only about 2 inches long, but it's because it's contracted up. Now if this was out in the ocean, this could be a foot or two long. If you find an adult full-size one, the tentacles can be up to 6 feet long. And then they get washed around in the ocean, like in the waves, whenever they get pushed up here, it can go down to 2 inches. So it's from 6 feet to 2 inches. That's pretty incredible, huh? I'll try to get some close-up shots here so you can see what it looks like up close. But man, what a cool animal. Do not pick this up. Like I said, it stings really bad. I got it in a glass of water here. I'm not touching it. And I'm gonna actually, I've got a sample jar. I'm gonna take this back to my office because since we don't see them that often, there could be some research done on them. So I'll try to get it back. But I thought y'all would be interested in seeing this. That's this episode of Beachcombing, the spaghetti monster. Bye.